Welcome to another edition of What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. On this week's program, the Barrie Colts have a near impossible task ahead of them in the OHL Eastern Conference Final with Oshawa. We meet a rising country music star from Orillia who's beginning her first tour. We look back 25 years to the tragic death of 3 children in the city and a special event this weekend to bring the families and first responders together. We also hit home runs for hunger and hike for hospice after this. The Barrie Colts are going to need a 4-game sweep to advance to the OHL Championship after losing the first 3 games of the Eastern Conference Final to Oshawa. A daunting task, but doable. The Kitchener Rangers did it in the second round against Windsor. Barrie 360's new addition, Julius Hern, getting the big picture from Colts writer and broadcaster Gene Pereira.
Now Ritchie at the blue line gets it past Akey, and D'Amato's on a rush. 3-on-2 with Seneca Torres. Seneca, Torres scores!
Colts haven't appeared in the OHL final since 2013. A heartbreaker last night, 7-6 the final in double overtime. And you talked about in your story on Barrie 360 a lot of the negativity after what some might call an instant classic on Tuesday night. How is that going to affect them in Game 4?
Yeah, they're obviously after a tough loss, an overtime loss like that, and Barrie played its best game of the series, and they had an opportunity. A couple opportunities overtime to win the game, and they're going to have to kind of quickly put that aside and focus on Game 4. But it's one of those situations where they play well, and the best game of the series, and they're going to have to repeat that effort, and it's not going to be easy, obviously, in front of a big home crowd for Oshawa.
What was the X factor for you in Game 3?
I think this time for Barrie, coming into this one was just the fact that they're much better defensively. They stayed out of the penalty box for the most part. They got a couple of early penalties. It's been an issue with them. That's something that's going to be key for Game 4. But their start to the series wasn't what they wanted, certainly on home ice. They played their best game on Tuesday night. They're going to have to repeat that here and see if they can get a couple more breaks and keep the series going into Saturday.
You mentioned staying out of the penalty box, a huge factor for them. They had 24 penalty minutes in Game 2 and only allowed 4 power play goals in that game as well. Were there any thoughts about maybe starting Ben Rabick in Game 3 as opposed to Sam Hillebrand?
That's something that, all year Barrie's gone back and forth between the 2 goaltenders, and, they even did it early in the playoffs. Marty Williamson has stuck with the veteran Sam Hillebrand, and after his performance last year in that first round series against Oshawa, Sam played really well, and, he's gone with the veteran, and it was really tough watching last night. After that overtime winner, where he really had no opportunity, and that was a 3-on-2 and just an odd-man rush, and Sam tried to get across there for Luke Torrance's shot, but it was a tough break, and I suspect that they're going to go right back to Sam here on Thursday night.
What does it say about a team when, like they've had to many times in these playoffs so far, they have to score 5 or more goals to win a game?
Yeah, that's something that even Marty Williamson talked after the game. You score 6 goals, you should win a hockey game. And it's one of those strange things this year. I mean, both these teams have a lot of firepower up front. And, with Barlow and Seneca, for Oshawa, that's something that, you really have to, they did that Tuesday, and that's something they're going to have to build on. Keep the prime opportunities for Oshawa, like those power plays, down, and for themselves, I think they found ways to do Jacob Oster, who was really good in the opening couple of games in Barrie, but he had a couple of goals probably that he'd like to have back in that game last night. I think both goalies at time, again, they gave up, but when it came down to crunch time and overtime, and the 2 overtimes especially, they were both outstanding, making big stops, to make that game the long one that it was.
What have you found to be the effect of Oshawa not really playing their 4th line that often, especially late and into overtime?
You go into an overtime, and it's one of those situations where anything can happen. It can happen quick. Barrie had a power play opportunity earlier in the overtime, and they had a couple of outstanding chances on scrambles in front, and I think one where the puck was lying in the crease, and both Cole Bowden and Riley Patterson they couldn't put their stick on a loose puck that was behind Jacob Oster, and it was just that kind of night, and you could see the frustration on both players after somehow Oshawa kept it out and got a whistle, but they had their chances early in that power play, and again, this Oshawa team, they continue to find a way to win hockey games, and Barrie threw their best at them, and they still managed to come up with a win last night.
Anthony Romani, he had another goal last night, now in a 16-game point streak. Who else needs to step up for Barrie aside from maybe that top, North Bay line?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you need your depth line. I mean, your depth guys and Brad Gardner, and I think you go up and down that lineup, and you saw Riley Patterson step up with 2 goals. The trio there of Wakely, Restiefel, and Romani were really good last night. Depth is a big part of why both these teams are here, and again, Barrie, some scoring from the third and fourth lines would certainly help.
Who do you think has been the MVP of this series so far, whether it's for the Colts or for the Generals?
I think Beckett Seneca obviously has been really good. I mean, through all these games, he's 6'3" Anaheim Ducks prospect. And again, just the size and, his ability with that shot to really turn games. And, I think both him and Colby Barlow, two of really the top elite snipers in the Ontario Hockey League. And, but I think Beckett has just been a force here. He was in Game 2 win in Barrie to give Oshawa 2-0 lead coming home, and again another goal last night. And he's just one of those guys who's a game changer. And whether it's with his physical play up front, and certainly without a doubt his ability to put the puck in the net.
Yeah, we even saw how well he played when these two teams met in the first round last year. He was a real X factor for the Generals in that series as well. Kitchener pulled off the reverse sweep against Windsor in the second round in the Western Conference. Do the Colts really have it in them against Oshawa?
Well, that's certainly going to be the question. And I think they can take something from their Game 3 win in Oshawa. They were facing a tough situation, and while they didn't get the win last night in double overtime, they were deserving of one, and that's one of those situations where you really got to take it a game at a time. It's cliche, but that's what you got to do, is you got to find a way to get this series to Barrie on Saturday for Game 5, and hopefully they can draw some confidence from the way they played in Game 3. They were certainly a much better, and I think they got stronger as the game went along, and even in the 2 overtimes. So it's a big hill to climb, but teams have done it before. But there's no doubt that they're going to have to put together here a big win and get it to Saturday to start.
Well, as I was talking about earlier, the first round series these two teams played last year, Barrie staved off elimination in Oshawa and were able to get Game 6 back at home. So this team, is as different as it is this season, has shown that they've been able to do it ahead of Thursday's Game 4. Gene, any final thoughts from you?
I think, for this club, look, I mean, they were counting on big things this year, and I think 2 of the teams that a lot of people thought would be here are here. And Oshawa's actually obviously played really well. This is a Barrie team that all year has been looking to do big things, and the opportunity now they're back against the walls to keep it simple. And I think we're going to see a pretty good hockey game from Barrie. I think they gave their best game of the series on Tuesday night, and just knowing those guys in the room, I think they'll be even better here on Thursday.
Gene Pereira, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Julius.
It's the biggest fundraiser of the year for Hospice Simcoe, the annual Hike for Hospice, happening this weekend at Sunnydale Park in Barrie. Our Ian McLennan gets the details from Hospice Simcoe Executive Director Kelly Hubbard.
Tell us just very briefly the history of Hospice Simcoe, how it came to be, and your coverage area too.
Well, Hospice Simcoe has been in our community for over 35 years. We started out providing bereavement services in people's homes and helping people to die at home, and just providing with helping a neighbor, helping people in their homes to die well, and to offer some bereavement support. So we've done that in our community for now 35 plus years. And just 15 years ago, we had the gracious, gifts of this community. We were able to put a 10-bed end-of-life care facility in. So we also have 10 beds, and we provide end-of-life care for those that are facing a life-threatening illness. So people come and stay with us, have their symptoms managed. We look after them, look after their family, and then we can provide them with bereavement support as well.
Hike for Hospice Simcoe coming up in May.
Yeah.
Every fundraiser is critical, but tell us about your funding sources and why this event is so important.
Excellent. Yes. So the Hike for Hospice, it's an annual event. It's the first Sunday of May every year. So this year it is May 4th at Sunnydale Park. So the Hike for Hospice will it's really gathering families of people that have used our services. It's more like a memorial event. We come, we raise money, we just come together, support each other, and do our hike around Sunnydale Park. We have some food together, sing some music, etc. It's a great event to just gather the community together. And that raises a good portion of money. We raise about $1.5 million every year out of this area. And we serve the Barrie End area, Barrie, Innisfil, around Simcoe County. We raise about $1.5 million. So the hike is one of our events to help us get that goal of $1.5 million.
Do you get any funding source from the government?
We do get ministry funding. It's about half of what we do. We get money for the residential facility, and we do get a touch of volunteer services money to help with our volunteers. We're a volunteer-based organization, so we do get some money to have volunteers on board.
How many beds do you have at hospice?
Just 10. We have 10.
In terms of discussion around hospice and palliative care, is there a difference?
We try to put it as hospice palliative care all together. Hospice is it's a philosophy of care. It's really a journey of holistic care for those that have a life-threatening illness. And palliative care is really through that whole trajectory. It's not just end-of-life care. A lot of people think that palliative care is end-of-life care, meaning that you have to be really, really sick to access palliative care services. And that's not the truth. End-of-life care is done at our residential facility. Really, people are only there at their end of life for the last 10 days to 2 weeks. That is end-of-life care. Palliative care is the programs that we do way up, months before you die. We can help you talk about your legacy. We can help you do advanced care planning, having those conversations with your family.
These things take place maybe within the person's home or
Absolutely,
wherever?
in the person's home or at our location. We have a community support location over on Bell Farm Road. So we have a team of social workers that can help you to have those difficult conversations with your family members.
How long have you been in the field of hospice and palliative care yourself?
Myself personally, this year I'll be coming on 34 years of being a registered nurse in this Barrie area. I've worked in the acute care facility, I've worked in the community and in hospice, and have done palliative care most of my career.
What has been some of the changes you've seen? Because there seems to be a greater discussion around death and dying, and have you seen it evolve?
I have seen it evolve in regards to symptom management, collaboration in regards to team-based nursing, team-based care with our physicians, social workers. It's very interdisciplinary, spiritual care. So I would say that we are not doing this work alone. We can't do this work alone. So we're having a lot more collaborations with other organizations. Say, for example, right now we have a palliative care clinical coach that is working with our vulnerably housed and homeless population, because homeless population die at at a higher rate than what our general population do. So we are working with that group of people, so Busby Center, Redwood, Park Homes, those types of places, to really work with us, the Gilbert Center, in regards to those that are vulnerably housed. So working with collaboration and other organizations, for example, the Alzheimer's Society, a lot of people will die with dementia or Alzheimer's disease. So we work with those organizations as well, just to provide some grief and bereavement support. Or it's really hard to watch a loved one with dementia. So you're grieving the loss of that relationship, because even though they're physically still alive, they're not mentally with you or emotionally with you. So we can help to work with those organizations. So we need to be bigger than who we are, and we need to really spread our breadth out into the community. So I would say that's been happening a lot lately.
A lot more.
Yes, a lot more.
When an individual comes to Hospice Simcoe for end of life, just briefly describe, I know obviously it's different for everybody, but what happens there? Because I've been in the building. It's beautiful. Mm-hmm. It's home.
It's home.
What takes place?
What happens there? Well, it's interesting. I'll just share with you, I guess, a comment from a family members that we hear, that this is the happiest, saddest place I've ever been in. It feels like home. It feels like there's a relief off of my shoulders. It feels like when I come here, I can now be the loved one. I don't have to be the care provider. So I can be a wife again. I can be a daughter again. I can do that loving stuff instead of the care needs all the time. So people really do find a bit of relief when they come in the doors. And I would say there's a lot of life there. I feel like people feel that when you come into a hospice, it's going to be death and crying and sadness. And don't get me wrong, there is death, there is crying, and there is sadness. But it's also happy and laughter. We're celebrating life all the time. We're doing our best to celebrate your life the best way that you want to. So, and that comes with a lot of laughter and music and things that are joyful. So it's a happy, sad place.
And when a family member does die, those left behind are not left alone.
No, we have a huge bereavement program. So anyone that's needing some assistance or just to have some comfort and have some support through the grieving process. Grieving is not easy. It impacts us physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. There's a lot. You lose a loved one, and sadness can really interrupt your life. So having some bereavement support with other peers and with the social workers on our team can help you just go through that process easier.
Again, the hike is this Sunday at Sunnydale Park in Barrie. Visit hospicesimcoe.ca for more information.
So if you're coming back and wanna stay, then you can't love me half.
This is what Barrie's talking about from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely, joined by country music writer and singer Parker Graye. You debuted at Boots and Hearts in 2023. You have 8.2+ million streams across streaming services. You seem to be doing all right for a kid from Orillia.
Yeah, not too bad, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been really cool. So things really started happening in probably 2017, and I started releasing in 2019, and ever since then, I've been very fortunate to have a lot of incredible people in my corner, I think, along the way, and somehow been lucky enough that my sad songs make people feel stuff enough so that they want to keep listening to it.
Well, that's the thing. On the top of this literature I have, it says, trigger warning, sad heartbreak songs ahead. Yeah. So you do those cheating, hurting cowboy songs?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I've had poor choices in my life, I think, when selecting partners or potential partners. And so it makes for incredible content, though. I think, listen, people have heartbreak, and it's a universal feeling, apparently, enough so that people like my
people relate.
Grossly sad songs. I can make fun of myself at least about it.
We all have stories to tell, right?
Exactly.
And sometimes we have the same story somebody else has to tell. How did this journey into country music get started for you?
Great question. So I kind of started in pop because I thought that, I was going to be a Lady Gaga or an Ellie Goulding or a Lorde, and I loved that music, and I was so inspired by it. But when I go to write it, it just didn't click. And I grew up on country. It was always on the radio at home, and it wasn't until 2017 when I was like testing lyrics on Instagram because I was so afraid of like committing to lyrics. Somebody in my circle was like, I was doing pop music at the time, and they were like, wait a minute, like, why aren't you doing country? And I was like, I don't know. Tell me.
Goes back to that heartbreaking stuff, right?
Yeah. And so I was like, maybe. And then we wrote on Zoom. Before writing on Zoom was a thing, I wrote on Zoom with these guys from St. Louis. And we wrote Do Over, which inevitably became my debut single. And that clicked so clearly that I was like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, this is the type of stuff I want to write about. And I want to write about things that I've experienced and be like super genuine in my lyrics. And just, I love storytelling. And so it kind of naturally happened. I feel like I kind of was a late bloomer when it comes to my career, but super grateful that I landed on it.
Are you hoping that maybe one day you have a happy experience to sing about?
Listen, so my latest single, it's called Write About You, and I had a crush on a guy, and I mean, when you're a kid and you get a crush on somebody and you write it in your diary or your notebook or your school books or something, or you tell a friend and then it immediately goes sideways, that is such a visceral feeling for me. And so I was starting to crush on this guy, and I went into a session with a couple of my girlfriends, and I was like, oh man, I'm in trouble. Like, I'm in trouble. And I was like, but I don't want to write about him because I don't want to jinx it. Inevitably, I did, but I still wrote about it. So, and it's like a happy-ish song.
Happy-ish?
Yeah, happy-ish. But it's funny. I think a lot of my circle of people are like, I think you seem to have this power to manifest through your music, and it seems like you manifest a lot of breakups. So what if you start writing love songs, and maybe you'll meet the person for like your love of your life? And I was like, maybe.
Yeah, maybe, but that's when the career dries up, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's terrifying.
All right, so you're this girl from Aurelia.
Yeah.
If you're going to make this happen, you got to move someplace where it's happening.
Yeah.
And that was Nashville. How long ago?
Just about 2.5 years ago, I made the move. I did the back and forth from Vancouver for a little bit, and then it just got so cumbersome and exhausting doing it. And I felt like every time I'd go, I'd be there for a few weeks, and then by the end of my trip, I'd just be getting settled in, and people would be like, hey, could you come to this session, or could you do this next week? And I'm like, I'm leaving. And I just felt like my heart was in two separate places. And I was like, I just got to get my visa and go try this out. I don't want to like live my life and not done it. And that was a couple years ago now, and I'm on my third visa, and I love it. It is so infectious. It's one of the, if you've never been, and anyone who's out there listening, if you've never been, you got to make the trip, because it is an incredible place to see the amount of talent. You could throw a paper plane and there's somebody who's blisteringly talented, and you're like, how are they not signed, or how are they not famous, and it's so inspiring.
And I'm guessing it's not just country music people who are flowing through.
No, it's changed immensely. Like, I mean, it's become such a melting pot of genres, and there's a lot of folk, there's a lot of Americana, there's a lot of pop, there's a lot of hip hop, there's a little bit of everything. And I think when we're seeing the crossovers with like Post Malone and even just Jesse Murph and all these other artists who are very much outside of the country space, it's becoming that hub. I mean, Ed Sheeran just moved. So it's like, it's cool to see it all kind of coming together. It's really awesome.
So who's the biggest star that you've met while you've been there? Or two, or three?
Have I met anybody? Craig Campbell is somebody who is iconic in my mind, and Outskirts of Heaven is like one of my favorite songs, and I have had the pleasure of being in the room with him a lot. But I had a session it would be a year ago. It was like June 15th last year, and it was with Troy Verges and Brett James, they probably cumulatively have over 50 number ones, and one of them being Jesus Take the Wheel by Carrie Underwood. And I remember going into that session and being like, I'm meeting my heroes. Like, it's so scary. And you get into those sort of rooms, and it's a spectacle. And I also had to write with Ernest, and that was really crazy because it was unexpected. We weren't supposed to write with him, and he just walked in the studio and grabbed a guitar and sat down with us. And I was like, what is happening right now? Like, this is crazy.
This doesn't happen to kids from Aurelia.
But I haven't really met that many famous people. And I think I think I meet a lot more established writers who are like doing really cool things, and I'm just very, I admire their work ethic and everything else.
Well, that's important too.
Yeah.
I don't want to presume, but I'm guessing you've been to the Grand Ole Opry.
Yes.
Have you been on the stage?
No, but you say that and it makes me want to cry because
There's another song.
Yeah, that place is so special, and it's a very visceral feeling, and there's something so magical about those four walls, and I really look forward to the day that I get to step in that circle, because that's a dream. That's a really big dream, and I think it'll happen one day.
Sure it will. Of course it will. High point to this stage in your career?
Great question.
I'm full of them.
Yeah, it's because you're a pro.
Well, let's not get carried away.
Simply seeing people sing your songs that you don't know. I think, like, you live in this world where you're constantly releasing music and you're constantly, like, in the throes of writing new songs and questioning everything you're doing. And is this good for radio? Will people give a crap? Is what I'm saying important? Will it move people? And then you get on stage and then you see this person who you don't know, and then they know every word, and you're like, whoa. Like, you get so taken aback by it because you're like, I didn't even know that was possible. And I've had some moments where people have reached out via Instagram DMs and, like, this song has, like, gotten me through, like, the craziest points of my life. And I'm like, whoa. Like, that was never my mission. But when you see the impact of that, I think that's a high point. And then just because it's, like, so vain, but, like, last March, Amazon Music put me on a billboard in Yonge and Dundas Square. Huge. It was the tallest I've ever been. It was up in the sky, floating around, and that was, like, crazy.
Nice.
That was so crazy. So, like, yeah, there's those things, and then there's those micro moments of seeing people sing, and I think that, like, I just try to clock those as much as possible.
See, you're ahead of me. I've never been on a billboard.
Oh, like, what's going on out here? We got to make this happen.
I'll put you on it. You can be my agent.
Perfect.
When you started this journey, did you have preconceived notions of how it was going to be, and then find out, whoa, this is nothing like I thought it was going to be?
I think I didn't know. I think you hear a lot of people talk about how awful the industry is and how hard it is, and that is all very true. It's all very true. There's a lot of, like, ugliness, but I think you, like most tough media, you kind of have to tune it out if you want to stay afloat. I think I love hard work. Mm-hmm. Like, I just love grunt work, and that's a lot of this industry, is digging your heels in and saying, I'm not going to take no. So it's, like, kind of surprises along the way of, like, oh, that's how that works. And then other things where I'm like, not shocked at all that that's how that works. A little bit of column A and B.
Well, I think people will tell you what their experience was, or try, oh, you know what, it's so tough, blah, blah, blah. But until you actually get in there and try it and start moving ahead, and then if you have the drive and desire, you're going to make it work somehow, some way.
Yeah, you can't have a plan B. I think in the back of my mind, there's been a light plan B for a long time, and I'm really trying to dismantle that as much as possible, because I just don't believe you can get to where you want to go if you've got a plan B. I just think you have to be all in. And part of me moving from Vancouver to Nashville was I'm all in, and, like, telling the universe, like, we're doing this thing. And, it costs a lot of money to do this, and I don't have that kind of money, but I'm betting on myself, man. And I think that's the only way to do it, is you have to go all in. And in order for other people to invest in you or believe in you, they need to see that you believe in yourself. And it's not 100% every day. There's days where I'm like, should I just throw in the towel?
What the hell am I doing? What was I thinking?
Right. Like, should I just go back to corporate and, like, go back to being a publicist and do that? But I'm like, no, that's not where my heart is. Like, I'd quit too fast. But, yeah, you got to just want it. You have to want it really bad. And I think I'm so lucky that I love writing songs. Like, I get to wake up every day and go make stuff up for a living. Sometimes it's true stories and sometimes it's not. And I'm like, that is so cool. And it's special. Like, I recognize that not everybody has the ability or the means or the choice to go and do that. And whether I get this career for the next 2 years or the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, I think like the things that I've taken from it, it's just, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Well, it must be going all right because aren't you starting your first sort of kind of tour?
Yeah.
I say sort of kind of because it's just
It's sort of kind
a
of
short tour right
Yeah.
now. But, you got to start someplace.
Yeah, so I called it the Halfway to a Tour because Halfway is my single that I released last August, and it's doing incredibly, and it still proves to do incredible. And I think it's the one song that people are really loving right now. And I was like, well, it was only going to be 2 stops, and then I added Vancouver, and I was like, well, it's kind of a tour. So I was like, let's just poke fun at it because I've never done it before. I've never booked shows on my own, and I'm completely independent. And so I figured I've never played my hometown, never played Aurelia, I've never played Toronto, and I've never played Vancouver. And all of those 3 places are places that have developed me in different ways. And I was like, it's time. And it's scary. Jumping in like this is scary because you're like, are people going to buy tickets? Do people even know who I am? Do people even listen to my music? Like, are people going to want to come and see a show? And so it's cool. And it's been interesting I love being creative. And like, I love thinking of doing things differently. And I think it's really hard to sell tickets no matter who you are. Obviously for larger acts, people just want to be there. But for somebody like me who doesn't have a huge draw yet, I wanted to do it different. And I wanted to bring Nashville to Aurelia, Toronto, and Vancouver. And so the show is going to open up with a Nashville-style writers' round. And for those that don't know what that is, you'll see if you're in Nashville, writers' rounds happen on a weekly basis. There's tons happening every day. And it's generally 3 or 4 people sitting on stools with their guitars. And one by one, they'll talk a little bit about the song, and then they'll play it, and then it goes to the next person and the next person. They do that three or 4 times through. And it's such an interesting way to discover new songs. And a lot of it are like writers who aren't artists too. So you get to see what other people are working on. And it's a great way to test your music, to see what people are what's resonating with people. And I was like, I love this idea of bringing that to the show instead of a traditional singular opener. And like, I love female acts, and I think that female representation in country is something that we need to keep pushing forward on. And so for both Toronto and Aurelia, it's all female lineup for the writers' round. And then I'm going to play a little broken down, vibey set with some new songs that I'm really excited about that I know a lot of people haven't heard yet, and test those out, and then a bunch of my existing songs. And it's just, I always want people to come and have an experience. And there's elements of the show that I think are bringing that to life. And a lot of people have never seen me really play. I play boots, but, I think it was still early days for that. But I'm so excited. And like, I have so much history with the Aurelia Opera House. I grew up dancing, and I danced in that place. And it's cool to know, like, I get to come home to that venue. And Toronto, it's the music hall at Burdock Brewery, and that I've never played either. And then Vancouver is the Painted Ship. One of my friends owns the restaurant, and it's a kind of live music restaurant venue. And that show's sold out. Nice. So we've just got to fill out Aurelia and Toronto, and it's going to be a time. I'm so excited.
I think you need to get Amazon to spring for a billboard on Highway 11 saying, hey, Aurelia, I'm back.
Amazon, if you're listening, pull out the checkbook, guys. Get that creative done.
All right. What are the dates in Aurelia and Toronto?
So Aurelia is May 9th, and then Toronto is May 13th. And tickets are on sale at www.parker-graye.com.
All right.
Yeah.
Parker, so great to meet you.
So great to meet you.
So
Thank
awesome
you,
to talk to you. I'm rooting for you.
Thanks,
with
sir.
all those hurting, cheating, down in the mouth songs. And we'll look forward to the really bright, here I am, look what I've done song.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And thank you for taking the time to chat with me. It means a lot.
Pleasure was all ours. Come back and see us again.
I would love to. Thank you.
Counting on it.
You're the one I got away.
Big doings this Saturday at the renamed home of the Barrie Baycats, Athletic Culture Stadium. Home Runs for the Hungry takes place Saturday. Baycats players, local celebrities raising money for the Barrie Food Bank. Here again is Ian McLennan, this time with Barrie Ward 2 Councillor Craig Nixon and Baycats President Josh Matlow.
Josh, Home Runs for the Hungry. What's that about?
So Craig came to me about 3 years ago with an idea. Went for a coffee and started talking about it, and it was a great idea. And he said, I wanted to put together a baseball game, kind of like the barn burner hockey game, and we want to raise funds for the food bank. So obviously I perked up and I got excited about it because it's what I signed up for. I wanted to be a part of the community and, make an impact where we can, and thought it was a great idea. It took a little bit of, planning, obviously, but with our platform and our support from our fans and our sponsors, it was a success in year one. Last year was a great success, and we're hoping to build on that this year. So it brings out the community, it brings out celebrities, it brings out some of the big names in Barrie. So it's really cool to be a part of, and we obviously try to entice everyone to be as much a part of it as they can.
I mean, it's supposed to be, Craig, a fun time, but it's also, I guess, some key messaging too about the need in our community and the solid work the food bank does in that role.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is, we do our best to make it a fun time, having a mixture of talented ball players with the Baycats and some not so much players. Makes it fun. People like to come out and see folks in a different role, but it's all about awareness as well. We want to raise money, obviously, but we want to raise awareness. The food bank, when we first started doing this 3 years ago, I believe the numbers that I was hearing at that time were 2,500 to 3,000 families per month that were relying on help. It's now up to 7,000, so it's a huge increase the last few years, and actually even in the last month or so with the ice storm, that's had an impact. A lot of people, you might not think about it, but a lot of people were without power for a week, and all of a sudden they lost everything in their freezer, they lost everything in their fridge, and had nowhere to turn. So, so we're happy to help.
And Josh, tell us how this will play out on May the 3rd.
Yep.
What's the format like, and how does the community get involved to support this event?
So Saturday, May the 3rd, we have a 1 p.m. start. The fans can come out, they can buy tickets. 100% of the proceeds go to the food bank. I believe in year one, we raised just over $8,000. Last year, we raised over $30,000, and we're obviously hoping to increase that this year with more families obviously in need. So come out. There should be a lot of fun. It's a 7-inning game. We try to make light of it. It's still baseball, so
gotta have some fun.
You gotta have some fun, and it's a weekend game. It gets us on the field early, so some of our players are excited to be out there, and the field will be all prepped and ready to go, and give us that little tickle for our season.
Now, the Baycats are very active in the community anyway, with supporting different causes. What do the players take away from this too?
Well, it's funny because a lot of these players have never done anything like this. We go back to when we went to Dominican and we raised equipment that we get to bring out to kids who have never had equipment before, and the shoes and gloves, and we were able to give it to them. And these kids who are 18, 19, 20 years old, who have never done anything like this, get these experiences that they could take away for life. So the same concept with this, where they get to come out, they get to, kind of help out in the community, play some baseball, have some fun, meet some people. Our fans are engaged in this too. So they like to come out, they see the players, they get to meet them a little more close up than a normal baseball game, and when they're locked and loaded into their game day routine. So it's been a great response from them. They love being a part of it. It, again, gets us out on the field early, which we love. And it's just all good fun.
Now, I know there's some announcers from Rock 95 and Cool FM that will be taking part, but some of your city councillor colleagues, so to speak, will be in the batter's box?
Yeah, we have a couple of councillors playing. We have Deputy Mayor Thompson playing as well. Mayor Noddle will be there for a few opening remarks. Baseball's not his first game. If it was soccer, maybe a little different.
It's a good thing we don't keep stats in this, right?
That's right, yeah. So, no, we have a wide range of players.
Sergio Morales, I believe, is councillor.
Yeah, Sergio, unfortunately, he's been there the first couple of years, and we hope he'll be back next year, but this year, unfortunately, is unavailable. But last year we also had some Barrie Colts on the field.
Nice.
And we've got real mixed emotions about that this year, because we certainly want them there and part of it, but we also want them to still be playing hockey at that point.
Yeah.
So
does the deputy mayor bunt, or can he hit?
I don't know.
We'll
I don't know.
Okay.
But we're hoping that he wanted to be a part of it, and we're glad to have him. Yeah. So.
And how does the format go in terms of is it the Baycats versus, or how are the teams lined up?
So I guess we have a dream that one day it'll be Baycats versus the Colts. Why wouldn't we, right?
Right.
But we mix in. So we have I think we have 4 or 5 Baycats on each team, and then they kind of mix in the other celebrities, and it's just a lucky draw, I guess, every year.
Sure. At the end of the day, both sides, we don't call the teams anything other than the blue team and the white team, but at the end of the day, they're all on the same team,
That's
which
right.
is Team Food Bank, So yeah, it's fun. We kind of make the teams up like 15 minutes before game time. We get everybody there. We just make sure we got enough jerseys for each. And as I say, everyone last year, had enjoyed themselves, and a lot of the players were really looking forward to coming back again.
And a call for help to wrap things up this week. 25 years ago, this coming Monday, 3 young children in Barrie, Campbell, Polly, and Renee, died tragically while playing hide and seek. On Sunday, there will be an invite-only event to reflect on the tragedy and to honor the children. Amanda Patrick is organizing this. Take us back, if you will, to what happened that day.
25 years ago, in my home in Barrie, which I'm born and raised in, I was just about 14, 2 weeks before, and I was out with my friends, and I stopped home to get changed, and my sister was there, and she said that the kids were missing. And for me, I didn't think anything of it. Just the way I was raised, we were out and about a lot in the neighborhood alone.
Of course, yeah.
And so when she said the kids were missing, she was referring to a little girl named Renee, and then my best friend's brother and sister who lived next door. They were 7, 4, and 3. And they were playing hide and go seek. So I didn't think much of it. I got changed and I left. And about 20 minutes later, I felt a bit guilty for leaving my sister to deal with it. She was only 16 at the time. And so I said to my friends, I'm gonna head home and help her look. And so as I turned the corner to go down to my house, it was about 30 feet. And I see fire trucks and ambulance everywhere. And I, at that point, honestly, at 13 years old, I thought maybe they were just there to help look for the kids. I didn't think anything more than that. Mm-hmm. So as I walked towards, I saw a body coming out under a sheet. And I thought it was my mom at first. That's just where my brain went. And then I saw her, and it was complete chaos at the scene. People were screaming, and I said, "What's going on?" And she said, "The kids were in the trunk. The kids were in the trunk." And I'm thinking, the trunk of a car? What's going on? And so to get out of the chaos, I went to run into my house, and it's a really small house, about 1,100 square feet, and I went to run in through the side door. And you're immediately into my small kitchen, and there's a dining table right in the center. And I saw them doing CPR on 2 of the little ones right there. And I ran back out because, again, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. And I found out later that they had climbed into an antique wooden chest, which when these chests close, they're airtight. They're meant to be that way. That's how they were built. And in under 8 minutes, they fell asleep and they passed away in the trunk. Quite small trunk when you see the picture of it. So the fact that they crawled in there to hide and, almost stacked on top of each other to do it. And they were probably so excited to hide in there, and they found the perfect spot. Mm-hmm. And what our understanding is that they did not try to escape, that they would have fallen asleep within 4 minutes because of the lack of air inside. There was no air holes drilled into it. And that's really the big issue here. Had there been some air holes drilled into it, this never would have happened. It's completely avoidable. And it's not only in Barrie that this has happened. This has happened around the world. And there's actually been a giant recall on these cedar trunks to remove the locks completely, first and foremost, and drill air holes into it.
I was telling you a story from when I was young. Around the corner from my house, a young boy who had crawled into a dryer that had been left at the road for pickup, and airtight, couldn't get out, and long search, and nobody thought to look in there until later, and just the grief that kind of thing brings, and the guilt afterward that people feel because they thought I could have avoided that, but you didn't think about it at the time. Same as the kids were playing hide and seek. We did that all the time.
That's right.
Running
My son
around
does
the
it
street.
now.
Yeah.
And I had actually walked past the trunk on my way to get changed that night, and I did not know that they were in there. So when you talk about the guilt, I had to struggle with that because it's an avoidable accident, but no one could have imagined. I lived in that house with that chest my whole life, and I never crawled in there for some miracle reason. But it could have happened to anybody.
So you have an event this weekend.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
So May 5th marks the 25th anniversary. I can't believe it's been that long since this tragedy happened. So on Sunday, May 4th, the families have asked me to plan a tribute event because what's happened is quite special. 2 years ago, in their memory, I started a Christmas campaign called Gift of Family, locally here in Barrie. And what I do is I find the pocket of kids that aren't already supported through traditional charities. Either their parents are unwilling, unable, or incapable of seeking the support, and they go without at Christmas. That was me as a kid. I didn't go without completely, but I know what it feels like to go back to school and you're not like every other kid. And it starts to erode your self-esteem as you get older. So I wanted to find these kids and I wanted to put it in Campbell, Polly, and Renee's name. So it's in memory of them. And their story has allowed me to make a huge impact in the community. People resonate with this story. It's one of the most tragic things that I would say has ever happened in Barrie. And so in just 2 years of starting the campaign, we have raised $200,000 in contributions, and we have gifted 231 kids with full Christmas experiences. So we don't just do presents. We do the presents, the tree, the elf on the shelf, the gingerbread house, the everything. 50% of them do not have Christmas trees. So we make sure they have everything. And
That's
so
amazing.
The tribute event is to commemorate their memory and all of the good that's coming from such a tragic story. And it's very special because we are bringing together the families, we're bringing together the first responders that were there that night, and we're bringing together all the gifted family sponsors that are now gifting these kids. It's really special.
You mentioned the first responders. You're trying to find some
Yes.
of them because they some of them have retired, and you really want them to be a part of this.
Yes, most of them are retired. It's been 25 years. And so my plea to the Barrie community is to help me find these people. The event's invite only, and I would like them to come as my personal guests if they are open to it. It's meant to be a beautiful full circle event, type of event, I should say. I think it would be very healing for them to see the families all these years later, because that night they saw the families at their worst. And the families are doing amazing now, and some amazing things are happening out of that tragedy. So I would love for them to come as my guest.
If they're listening or somebody who knows them are listening, how do they get a hold of you to get involved with this?
Yeah, so they can email me personally at giftafamily@outlook.com, or they can follow the Instagram page and message me there, giftafamily.
Thank you so much for doing this. Thanks for coming in and letting us know what's going on, and we'll do our best to find those first responders for you.
Thank you so much for the support.
And that's our program for this week. Thanks to Ian and Julius for their input, to Matt Ladder for his technical expertise, and to you for listening. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to What Barrie's Talking About, rate it, review it. You can also keep up with What Barrie's Talking About on Blue Sky and X at Barrie360, on our website, Barrie360.com, and there's our daily Kickstart podcast available from any streaming service and on our website. I'm Dan Blakely. Hope you'll join us again next week.